All three countries involved in this war, the U.S., Iran, and Israel, have now signed off on this 2-week ceasefire, which was brokered with the help of Pakistani officials. Iran has agreed to temporarily reopen the crucial Strait of Hormuz, and all of this coming after an over-the-top presidential threat that alarmed many lawmakers here at home. After nearly 40 days of all-out war, the military strikes in Iran have stopped. President Trump agreeing last night to suspend the bombing and attack of Iran for a period of 2 weeks, saying a long-term peace plan is very far along. Traveling in Hungary, Vice President J.D. Vance called it a fragile truce.
You have people who clearly want to come to the negotiating table and work with us to find a good deal. And then you have people who are lying about even the fragile truce that we've already struck.
The truce came just an hour and a half before Trump's 8 p.m. Eastern deadline for a deal, at which point he had vowed to begin targeting civilian infrastructure.
They're going to have no bridges. They're going to have no power plants.
As part of the ceasefire, Iran's foreign minister announced last night, for a period of 2 weeks, safe passage through the Strait of Hormuz will be possible via coordination with Iran's armed forces. For the past 6 weeks, hundreds of oil tankers have been unable to enter the strait, sending oil and gas prices soaring worldwide. Yesterday, some Iranians formed human chains around power plants as Trump's threats intensified. At one point, he warned a whole civilization will die tonight, prompting more than 70 congressional Democrats to call for his impeachment or his removal via the 25th Amendment.
Threatening to eliminate a civilization is comparable to genocide. That's illegal, immoral.
Some Republicans also criticized Trump's language. Senator Lisa Murkowski of Alaska posted on X that it directly endangers Americans, both abroad and at home. Even the Pope weighed in on Trump's threats without using Trump's name.
Attacks on civilian infrastructure is against international law, but that it is also a sign of the hatred, the division, the destruction that the human being is capable of.
Now that a ceasefire is in place, we move to the hard part, hammering out a long-term peace agreement that addresses Iran's nuclear plans, its funding of terrorism, and so on. And Iran has its own demands, including a new $2 million fee for ships to pass through the strait. If the U.S. and Iran can't reach a deal on all of this, there is always the possibility, Nora, that this war could resume.
Shalom, shalom, shalom. All praises to the Most High, Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, which is to say in the Paleo Hebrew, Yahweh, which is the name of our Heavenly Father, meaning He is, and that is who the world ignorantly calls God. Bahashim, which means in the name. Yahweh Shai, which means He is our salvation, and that is who the world also ignorantly calls Jesus, a so-called black man, who, by the way, only came for the Israelites, all right? Now, as you heard, Trump, Israel, and Iran came to the table at the 9th hour or close to the deadline of 8 p.m. before Trump, as he said, would blow Iran to Stone Age or blow them to smithereens, okay? So the narrative is that I guess that was good enough for them to stop the firing, the missiles going back and forth for 2 weeks, okay? So there's a ceasefire. And although we wanted Iran to not capitulate or come to the table and have a ceasefire, the Lord saw fit for it to happen, okay? So instead of putting Trump to the test, now there's 2 more weeks. 2 more weeks now, all right? But nevertheless, whether it was 2 days, 2 weeks, or however long, we still have to flip these talents, okay? We still got to flip these talents, okay? Because as the what's that group? Outcast, I believe, or Goody Mob, that had a song, One Monkey Don't Stop No Show. Hey, the show continues to go on, man. We still gotta make this money that we got from Yahweh B'Hashem Yahweh Shai work. We gotta put it to work. We still have to flip these talents. Okay? I cannot emphasize enough that the work still has to go on. All right? Even if the ceasefire is happening, we still got to put these lessons out. We still got to continue to walk in the faith. We still got to do what's asked and required of us. All right? Because going back to a year or so ago, when the truckers was, claiming that they weren't getting paid, so they was going to go on a strike, or back to when the ships were on the verge of coming to a complete halt because of the union. All right, the work still got to go on, man. All right, it seems like we get that much close, and then that much more farther away. But this work still has to continue to go on. We still got to flip these talents until our Lord and Savior, Yahweh Shai, returns, okay? And if you get disenchanted, if you get bewitched, if you get slothful and don't flip your talents, and Yahweh Shai shows up, you're going to have some explaining to do, all right? And it ain't going to be enough explaining that's going to be able to get you out. So let's go ahead and get into it. This is the book of Matthew, chapter 25 and verse 14. It reads, "For the kingdom of heaven is as a man traveling into a far country." See? So Yahweh Shai is gone right now, all right? It seems like we waiting on him to come back. But guess what? He's going to come back when the Lord sends him, when Yahweh sends him. But in the in-between times, we got to continue to flip these talents. All right? We can't become slothful. We can't become disenchanted because what we thought would happen didn't happen. See? The Lord is just letting this thing build up for a climax, okay? I can only imagine when the Lord finally allows this thing to unfold, how blown out of the mind we're gonna be. We're gonna be like, wow, I could have never imagined that. That's why he's Yahweh, okay? So we got to continue to flip these talents until the Lord sends Yahweh Shai back. And he's going to check and see, what did we do? What did you do when I was going on that long journey, when I travailed into a far country? All right, what did you do? Did you flip the talents that I gave you? Did you make the most of what you had in that time? Because I gave you time. The Father gave you time, so what was the excuse? Oh, I was doing it for a while, Lord, but after, becoming disenchanted, becoming detoured from not seeing, from becoming discouraged, from becoming detoured, from not seeing prophecies come to pass, I buried my talent, Lord. And the Lord don't want to hear that. He's an austere man. Salakia. Ain't going to be no excuses. He want to see, I gave you this amount of talents. What did you do with it? So it says, for the kingdom of heaven is as a man traveling into a far country, who called his own servants and delivered unto them his goods. See? The Lord giving us time to work right now, okay? Because as it says, no man works in the dark. So it's still daylight, all right? Albeit it's fading, because this man, Esau, Edom kingdom is coming to an end. It's still daylight. It's still time to work. We still got to flip these talents. The Lord gonna want to see what you did with the money he gave you, with his goods. And if you ain't got a good return of interest, it ain't gonna do you no good in that day. So let's read this in the NLT. It says, again, the kingdom of heaven can be illustrated by the story of a man going on a long trip. How long has Yahushua been gone? For 2,000 plus years. Okay? It says, he called together his servants and entrusted his money to them while he was gone. See? So guess what? We got to make the most of this. Okay? We can't allow no ceasefire to deter us, to discourage us from flipping our Lord's money, his talents. Because if you put that plow down and you go back into the world for whatever reason, the Lord ain't going to want to hear it, man. He's an austere man. Okay? Let's go to Luke. Is that 9:62? It says, this is the book of Luke, chapter 9:62. It says, and Yahushua said unto him, no man having put his hand to the plow, that's the work, and looking back is fit for the kingdom of the Most High. See? So the Lord wants you to make the most of this time you got, all right, and what he gave you. And he wants you to flip that, all right? He wants you to bring back more than what he gave you, all right? All right, bare minimum, he wants to see that you did something with it, not just put it up under the bed or bury it in a napkin or whatever, because something didn't happen when it was supposed to happen. All right, he's on a long journey. All right, so it's going to be a while. All right, but that can't deter you or discourage you from doing what's asked and required of you by who? Yahweh, by Hashem Yahweh Shai. See, ain't no excuse. All right, ain't no excuse. As long as he give you breath to breathe, you still in the game. You still got to flip this talent, okay? Until you can't breathe no more, until your last breath. That's the only way out. Or until Yahweh Shai returns. Those are only two ways. You got to continue to find a way to flip his talents that he gave you. So it says, and Yahweh Shai said to him, no man having put his hand to the plow and looking back is fit for the kingdom of the Most High. You done woke up to the truth. You done found out who you are. You done got the names of the power and his only begotten Son. And you know what is asked and required of you and what you got to do at all costs. You got to make sure you get it done, Lord willing. Okay? So Matthew 25 and what was it, 14? Says, for the kingdom of heaven is as a man traveling to a far country who called his own servants and delivered unto them his goods. Right, we read that into the NLT, is his money. And unto one he gave 5 talents, to another 2, and to another 1. To every man according to his several ability, and straightway took his journey. Right, so the Lord said, okay, you got this, you got that, and I'm going to give you this according to your talent, your several ability, and then I'll be back, okay? I'm going ahead and go off into the journey, all right? I'm going to see the Father, okay? It says, that's why he made some apostles, some bishops, and this and that, okay? So every man got their own gift and their talent, and the Lord wants to see you flip it. If you're a prophet, do what's asked and required. Apostle, bishop, we all got to do what's asked and required of us, okay? It says, and unto one he gave 5 talents, to another 2, and to another 1. To every man according to his several ability, and straightway took his journey. Then he that had received the 5 talents went and traded with the same and made them other 5 talents. So he flipped his talents It says, and likewise he that had received 2, he also gained other 2. So he flipped his. But he that had received 1 went and digged in the earth and hid his Lord's money. See there? This is that one that got disenchanted, that got bewitched, that got, lackadaisical, that took his hand off the plow because something didn't happen in the time matter that he thought it should happen. So he said, I'm going to go ahead and dig this and go back into the world, and catch the Lord when he come back. See? That represent those 5 foolish virgins, okay? When the bridegroom came, they weren't prepared. It says, but he that had received 1 went and digged in the earth and hid his Lord's money. After a long time, the Lord of those servants cometh and reckoneth with them. See? So the Lord's going to come when you least expect it. That's why it says he's going to come like a thief in the night. Because why? You're not looking out for him. But those of us that are sober are. That's why we're doing the most that we can to make sure when he comes that we have more to give to him when he comes, all right, than what he gave to us. See? So we watching, all right? But that one that digged and put it in the ground, is Yahweh when he returns is going to catch him like a thief in the night. It says, verse 19, after a long time the Lord of those servants cometh and reckoneth with them. And so he that had received 5 talents came and brought other 5 talents, saying, Lord, thou deliveredest unto me 5 talents. Behold, I have gained besides them 5 talents more. See, so he flipped his, man. And we got to flip ours. Lord willing, we of that number, the elect. It says, his Lord said unto him, well done, thou good and faithful servant. See, that's the key word, faithful. It says, thou hast been faithful over a few things, I will make thee ruler over many things. Enter thou into the joy of thy Lord. See, this is what we're looking for, to enter to the joy of our Lord, because he's going to give us many things. Okay? But we got to flip these talents that he gave us. We can't be lackadaisical or, slothful, even if we only got 1 talent. We got to come back with at least 2. See? It says, verse 21, his Lord said unto him, well done, thou good and faithful servant. Thou hast been faithful over a few things. I will make thee ruler over many things. Enter thou into the joy of thy Lord. He also that had received 2 talents came and said, Lord, thou deliveredest unto me 2 talents. Behold, I have gained 2 other talents besides them. See? So he came through. All right? He flipped his talents. Verse 23, his Lord said unto him, well done, good and faithful, there it is again, faithful servant. Thou hast been faithful over a few things. I will make thee ruler over many things. See? You got to, when you pick up that plow, you got to pick it up with the understanding that this thing is a matter of your faith. All right? You're going to come against temptations. You're going to come up against temptations, should I say. All right? We want the Lord to come yesterday, but we cannot move and have him come any faster than what Yahweh has already designated for him to come, because only the Father knows when he's coming. All right? All we have is prophecies to measure the time diligently. Okay? And we're hastening that day. So, yeah, we wanted at 8 p.m. to see Trump strike Iran, because we think in our, peon brain that could have been the catalyst to bring all out war and have America to go into a recess or something that bring forth the mark of the beast. But see, we still gotta wait and be patient. And in the process of doing so, we still have to flip our talents. Okay? So it says in verse 24, then he which had received the one talent, the least of them all, only one talent, said, then he which had received one talent came and said, Lord, I knew thee that thou art a hard man, reaping where thou hast not sown, and gathering where thou hast not strawed. See, so he knew the type of Lord he had. He knew that the Lord was an austere man, reaping where he had not sown, gathering where he did not straw. And yet he didn't see the need to make the most and get two at least. See, that's one that took his hand off the plow, man. Went back into the world, as it says in Mark 3, in verse what is it? Mark 4, the parable of the sower. Let's see if I can get that. Let's jump up to verse 14. It says, the sower soweth the word, and these are they by the wayside where the word is sown. But when they have heard, Satan cometh immediately and taketh away the word that was sown in their hearts. So this is not the one that received the one talent. I think it's the next one, verse 16. And these are they likewise which are sown on stony ground, who when they have heard the word, immediately receive it with gladness, and have no root. Check this out. And have no root in themselves, and so endure but for a time. Afterward, when affliction or persecution ariseth for the word's sake, immediately they are offended. See? So because something don't come to pass right away, you get offended. You get disenchanted. You don't want to flip your talent, albeit it's one, but nevertheless, you don't want to come back with at least two. You want to come up with the excuse, Lord, I knew you was a hard man, reaping where you sow and gathering where you not straw, as if you going to somehow, sweet talk the Lord into showing you mercy when he gave you the time to receive mercy by flipping the talents that he gave you. Because when he come back, it ain't going to be no talking, man. It's going to be what you did with the talents I gave you. I don't want to hear no excuse that I did it all the way up until they didn't do a ceasefire, until they did a ceasefire. Then I said, man, I can't go no more. No, you got to continue to go through that, man. You got to endure until the end. That's the point. He that shall endure unto the end, the same shall be saved. St. Mark 16:16. St. Mark 13:13. He should be hated by all. Is it St. Mark 16:16? And ye should be hated by all men for my name's sake, but he that shall endure to the end, the same should be saved. Yeah, I think that's it. So you got to endure to the end. Ain't no excuse. Okay? So it says, verse 17, and have no root in themselves. See, that's just it. You don't got no root, man. You got to make sure you're rooted on that foundation of who? Yahweh Shai. Okay? Or else you're just going to be seasonal. Here today, gone tomorrow. It says, and so endure but for a time. Afterward, when affliction or persecution ariseth for the word's sake, immediately they are offended. Okay? And these are they which are sown among thorns, such as hear the word, and the cares of this world, and the deceitfulness of riches, and the lust of other things entering in, choke the word, and it becometh unfruitful. See? These are all those one talent individuals, man. These are all of them. All they got is one talent to flip, and they couldn't do it because why? They was disenchanted. They was, offended by the word. They fell out because they weren't rooted, so on and so forth. And when the Lord returns, ain't going to be no excuses, man. It says, verse 20, and these are they which are sown on good ground. These are the ones that's, rooted in who? Yahweh B'Hashem Yahweh Shai. That's going to flip them talents. No matter what. Whether there's something in the news or whether there's something outside of the news, they going to find a way to flip them talents, man. All right? They going to find a way to flip them talents, to do the work, to stay in the spirit. They going to find a way, a lesson, a video, just staying in the spirit. That's what it's about, staying in the spirit, flipping the talent that the Lord gave you. All right? And if you don't, you're going to find yourself being that one talent that, when the Lord comes, you're going to be trying to gather together some words to try to sweet talk him, and he ain't going to hear it. He's an austere man. All right? That's why it says, and these are they which are sown on good ground, such as hear the word and receive it and bring forth fruit, some 30-fold, some 60, and some 100. See? These are the ones that flip the talents that the Lord gave them, man. That's continued to stay in the spirit all the way into the end when the Lord came. All right? So now let's jump back to Matthew 25 and verse. There ain't no excuse. You got to do the work, whether they didn't have a ceasefire or whether they do. We still doing the work until this damn place gets destroyed, man. It says, St. Matthew 25 in verse, where were we at? We was on the one that said 1, and he was speaking of an austere man reaping where he sowed not. Yeah, here we go. Matthew 25 and 24. Then he which had received the 1 talent came and said, Lord, I knew that thou art an hard man, reaping where thou hast not sown, and gathering where thou hast not strawed. And I was afraid and went. Hey, this ain't no excuse, because you knew better. It says, and went and hid thy talent in the earth. Come on, man. This is the most precious, valuable thing that the Lord can ever entrust with, and you go and hide it? Don't do that. Don't let the ways of this world, choke this truth off from you. Don't be offended in this truth, okay? This is the most beautiful and precious thing that we have, this wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. As it said, it's going to be the stability of thy time. It's going to be worth more than any money that Esau, Edom can give you. Because why? His money is fake. And even if he did have gold and silver, it still wouldn't deliver you like this truth is going to in that time. So it says, and I was afraid and went and hid thy talent in the earth. Lo, there thou hast that is thine. Come on, man. You know better than that. See, you weren't ready when he came. You had your money hid in the earth, and you saying and you're saying, there thou hast that is thine. Now you want to just give him 1 talent. Come on. His Lord answered and said unto him, thou wicked and slothful servant. See, the totally opposite of that those faithful servants is what? Thou wicked and slothful servant. Thou knewest that I reap where I sow not, and gather where I have not strawed. Thou oughtest therefore to have put my money to the exchangers, and then at my coming I should have received my own with usury. See? So he's saying, you ain't gonna do it. You should have just gave me. You should have just gave my money to the exchangers. Then I know, and I could at least got my money back with usury. You didn't do nothing. You just let it sit there and erode it, putting it in the earth. It says, thou oughtest therefore to have put my money to the exchangers, and then at my coming I should have received my own with usury. Take therefore the talent from him and give it unto him which have 10 talents. See? So eventually, if you don't do the work and you go cold, the Lord going to take the spirit from you. Just like that. That's the risk you run when you don't do the work. When you feel like everything else you got is more important than doing this work. The Lord going to take the spirit from you. And we in the wrong time for that. You don't want the Lord to take the spirit this close to the end, because what you thought would happen didn't happen. You got to continue to push. All right? That's your sole mission, is to push to flip these talents. It says, take therefore the talent from him and give it unto him which have 10 talents. For unto everyone that have, let me slow down, Matthew 25 and 29. For unto everyone that haveth shall be given, and he shall have abundance. But for him that have not shall be taken away even that which he hath. See, a little bit that you thought you had, if you don't use it and flip it, the Lord will take it from you. Whether that's just the name, because the name is important. Whether that's knowing who you are is important. But if you don't do something with it to show the Lord that you're grateful of him waking you up, he'll strip it from you. And you'll think that you just walking away from the truth, but that's the Lord taking the spirit from off of you. And that's going to be a cold feeling, man. That's something we don't want to imagine. That's something that's dreadful to think about, how much we into this truth, and then at any point in time, the Lord could just take the spirit from us, and we back in the world. We done took our hand off the plow. We can't flip the talent no more. We just going to have to be a believer when it's too late and try to convince the Lord. That's going to, you don't, imagine you just trying to sit here and convince the Lord, man. As if the Lord don't know your thoughts already. Well, Lord, man, come on, get out of here, man. As it says, depart from me, you workers of iniquity. I never knew you. It says, for unto everyone that have shall be given, and he shall have abundance. But from him that have not shall be taken away even that which he haveth. Verse 30, and cast ye the unprofitable servant into outer darkness. There shall be weeping and gnashing of teeth. Hey, that's the lake of fire, man. Especially if you're here in Babylon the Great, America, and you hide your talent, and the Lord come, and you try to say this and say that, and the Lord say, depart from me, you workers of iniquity. I never knew you, you wicked and slothful servant, and cast you into darkness, and you good, hey, and the missiles come, and the chariots don't beam you up, and you left here to be what? It says weeping and gnashing of teeth, okay? That's your fate, man. If you don't make the most of what the Lord gave you until he returns, all right? If you take your hand off the plow, this is the fate, all right? You're going to be destroyed here in Babylon the Great, the United States of America, all right? The lake of fire, all right? So flip them talents, okay? Flip those talents. We got to stay in the spirit, Lord willing, by all means necessary, all right? Doing your videos, you know, going out on the highway and hedges, how you live throughout the week, you know, all of this is in order to prepare yourself when the Lord returns, when he asks you, what did you do with the talents that I gave you? See, this has to be a lifestyle, all right? It's not just, oh, I make a video, I go out. No, you have to live this, okay? You have to breathe this, all right? You have to walk with a certain amount of healthy fear, all right, that the Lord will jack you up if you don't. This is what keeps us in line, man, okay? Or I say for myself, this is how I perceive and think of things, that if the Lord comes and I'm not doing the work and I'm not living the lifestyle that goes along with it, I can get jacked up, okay? I can get jacked up, you know, and sometimes the Lord will jack you up to get you back on track, like he did with Jonah when he had that fish prepared for him. And Jonah tried to, you know, run from his obligations of being a servant, a prophet of Yahweh, he had what? That fish prepared for him. And after he went into that belly of the whale for those 3 days and 3 nights, he was ready to get on board. All right? So the Lord can jack you up to the point where you get the picture and then you recalibrate it and you right back where you at. But that's only if you're of the elect. Now, if you ain't of the elect, the Lord will jack you up and you will never come back, man. You'll be bugged out. That one demon that was there with you before you came into this truth, when he come back, you already know he bringing 7 more with him, man. Right? And then your last estate is going to be way worse than your first estate. All right? So this thing is deadly serious. Don't take this truth as a joke. All right? We really believe what we teach and preach. All right? And we continue, and we have to continuously to prophesy. All right? Bring out, the news. Feed the sheep. Keep them updated. Show the correlations between what's going on in the secular world with what's going on in the Bible. Because they go hand in hand, man. All right? The Bible is full of prophecies. All right? What we are here on earth is to witness these prophecies, and in doing so, get right with the Lord before he comes. Okay? Because this is how we measure the time diligently. All right? So we got to continue to flip these talents. All right? And don't become wicked and slothful, but instead be like those 2 faithful servants. So let's go ahead and close out. This is the book of 1 Peter, chapter 5 and verse 8. It reads, be sober, be vigilant. See? Just because something didn't happen the way we thought it was going to happen doesn't give us an excuse to stop being sober and vigilant. This is the job of the watchman. We got to sound the trumpet and blow the horn in Zion. Whether it's a imminent threat or whether it's something from way off, we still got to warn the people. Okay, so they don't have an excuse. See, that's the whole thing. Oh, nobody didn't tell me. No, you know. Okay, you can't say that you didn't have no chance to get right, because why? The Lord has his man. The Lord has his man, his servants out here blowing a trumpet, telling you, giving you the heads up, so you won't have no excuse. All right. So be sober, be vigilant, because your adversary, the devil, as a roaring lion. See, this damn devil thinks he's going to be able to somehow offset prophecies. No, you're not going to be able to offset prophecy. You're never going to the moon. See, he reads the Bible. And he knows it says, if you can search the heavens or the depths of the sea, then will I, speaking Yahweh, shall cut off Israel, that they be no more. See? So this devil knows what he's doing, but he can't offset prophecies. All he's doing is playing into prophecies. Or he's playing into the prophecies by doing these things, because that's how we know who he is. Okay? Nothing trumps prophecy. Okay? Prophecy is the key to everything. All right? This is how we know who we are and who our enemies are. All right? So this devil can't deceive anyone that is outside of the elect. Now, if you're not of the elect, he can deceive you. So it says, be sober, be vigilant. Okay? Because your adversary, the devil, which just goes to false accuser, as a roaring lion, walketh about, seeking whom he may devour. He wants those that say, well, look, we thought that, Trump was going to blow Iran to smithereens. Now he's waiting 2 more weeks. And in those 2 weeks, you may go back into the world, man. And the next thing you know, something happens. And then you try to pick up the plow and it's going to be too late. See? It's going to be too late. So this is why we got to continue to do the work and be like those 2 faithful servants and not that wicked and slothful servant. All right? And, hey, flip these talents. Okay? Flip those talents. All right? And when the Lord comes back, he's going to give you many if you endure to the end. So with that being said, pray some more was edified through this lesson. And until the next time, if it be the Lord's will, stay strong, stay in the faith. We're almost home. Shalom. Peace.